All right, we are now live on Facebook for another Courage session. Thank you all for joining us today. Again, we'll do our introductions here. My name is Enrique Hasso. I'm the Associate Director of the Texas Health Education Service, and joining me as always is Dr. Deb Beck.
Good afternoon. Again, I'm Deborah Beck. I'm the advising coordinator for the Texas Health Service and formerly the advisor at the University of North Texas for about 18 years.
Mean Green.
Yep.
We're really excited today to round out all of the TMDSAS dental schools with having Dr. Ralph Cooley join us from the UT Health Science Center at Houston School of Dentistry. Dr. Cooley, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. My pleasure. Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Would you mind giving us a little bit of a bio into your role at the school?
Sure. I'll be glad to tell you a little bit about my background. I was in private practice for 34 years in a town called Conroe, Texas, just north of here, about 50 miles. And during that time, I taught here at the school 1 day a week for 17 years. And I've been very involved with the American Dental Association and the Academy of General Dentistry nationally, still am. And so I kind of backed away from teaching for about 5 years, but then came back. And then 6 years ago, sold my practice and decided to come here full time. And the people in my town still think I'm a little nuts for doing that. A lady attacked me in Torchy's Tacos a couple of days ago. Even though there's social distancing, she came up and tackled me and said, "Are you okay? Are you okay mentally? Because I can't believe you left me as my doctor." And I said, "Well, I can't answer the question whether I'm okay mentally, but I will tell you it was the right move." And I just did that because I really believed in our school here at Houston, and we have great leadership. And so I teach here in the clinic, but then 3 years ago, I was given the opportunity to be assistant dean for admissions and student services here, and it's just been a real privilege to serve down here. It's a lot of fun, and it's very fulfilling. So, yeah.
We're very thankful for you to join us. We were just talking right before we went live about seeing some of the other dental schools come on board on the Courage sessions last week. And we didn't want you to feel left out. So thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, I don't feel left out. And Enrique, I made this comment to you starting off, and I'll just say that, and I tell people when they come to visit our school, we have 4 outstanding dental schools in the state of Texas. We really do. It's a real blessing. And so when we talk, anything that I say today, when I'm talking about our school, because I really believe in it, we never make the comment, "Oh, we're far superior than any other school," because we don't feel that way. We feel like we've got 4 exceptionally good schools, dentistry-wise in Texas. And I tell students all the time are applying, if you get accepted to any of the 4 schools, you're going to a great institution. So I truly feel that way. So.
Yeah, it's definitely true.
Yeah.
Not just because Texas is the best.
I didn't say that, but amen. Okay.
I'll say it.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, as a quick reminder for those of you joining us live right now, this is a live Q&A. So if you have any questions for Dr. Cooley about the dental profession, getting into dental school, any questions specific to the UT Health Houston School of Dentistry, share this on our comments here on our Facebook page for both the Texas Health Education Service and TMDSAS. And just to kind of get us started with the discussion, Dr. Cooley, your office is actually in a really relatively new building in the Texas Medical Center, which, as many folks know, is the largest medical center in the world. Would you mind telling us about the new space? Because we did take a tour a few years ago during one of our annual meetings, and I have to say I was blown away with just how state-of-the-art everything was. And I'd like for you to share some of the information regarding that building with us.
Sure, be glad to. a history. I tell everybody we are the oldest dental school in the state of Texas. We opened in 1905 in downtown Houston. Now I will tell you that Texas A&M College of Dentistry also opened in 1905, but it's well documented in history that we opened our doors 2 days before they did. So we are the oldest dental school in the state. And so I know Dr. Miller will appreciate that. But no, we have a very rich history here, starting in 1905. And for many years, for about, I have to think in my mind here, 57 years, we were right in the heart of the Texas Medical Center, right next to where MD Anderson is. And we're there for 57 years, and it was a great experience and great to be there right in the hub of everything. But in 2012, we moved into our new facility. We're about a mile from there. So we're in the suburbs, if you will, of the Texas Medical Center. And I got to tell you, we like being in the suburbs because we don't have to fight the traffic, but we still have the advantages of the largest medical center in the world in terms of being able to collaborate with our other 5 sister schools, including the medical school there. We can do a lot of collaboration in terms of research projects. We will send sometimes our students to one of those schools. We'll have students from one of those health profession schools come visit us and do some different projects together. So it's been a really good fit, but we like our facility here. It's been nice. Couple things too that were real benefits when we moved here is there's a building that was built next to us, the Behavioral and Biomedical Science building for UT Health. And it connects to ours. It's a seamless connection. You don't even know you're going from one building to the other, but it's got 20,000 square foot of lab space that we utilize for our research projects, both for faculty and for students. And that's been a big boon, big increase in our research ability here for our students. So that's a real fortunate thing for us. And we also have a building that ties right onto our building. They think it's ours because it's, again, a seamless connection, called the Cooley Center. No, it was not named after me, so I wish. But the Cooley Center is a great facility. We have a lot of events there, including our white coat ceremony, a lot of student events there. And in reality, it's open to all the other schools in the medical center, but we utilize it more than anybody else because it's right here. It's right on our doorstep. So yes, we're really proud, happy of our facilities. That being said, I'm always humbled when I talk about it because, as you know, and everyone knows, that the real heart of any good institution is not so much the mortar and the bricks and how shiny the windows are, but it's really the commitment of the people inside that building, the faculty members, the students, the leadership. We've all been in great schools with older facilities that we knew were good schools because of the people. So if I get too, get too off board here with how great the facilities are, I have to remind myself what's really important. But we're thankful, yeah, we do, and it still has that new feeling, even though we've been here for 8 years here. It still feels pretty new to us. So yeah.
Great, thank you so much. Yeah, again, I was really floored with just seeing how great that building is, but I fully resound what you just said, that really what makes the institution great is the people behind it. Yeah. So again, this is a live Q&A, so if you have any questions, we have started getting a few questions on here, but we do have Dr. Cooley here addressing any of your concerns about the application cycle, what it's like to be a dentist, getting into the school in general, excuse me. And we do have a few questions that we wanted to bring up, particularly since we weren't able to get any of the other dental schools. We just ran out of time to discuss them. But right now, I think there's a huge call to action for a lot of our young people who are interested in pursuing a health profession, particularly for medical and dental students. We've seen a huge uptick in those applications, and with veterinary applicants, we're actually starting to see those applications kind of kick up just within TMDSAS. And so there seems to be a huge desire to continue to pursue these careers, which is fantastic. But I think along with that, I think public health has been on the forefront of a lot of people's minds recently. So if somebody wants to earn a master's in public health with a DDS degree, how does that come into play? Would you happen to have any feedback on what public health looks like from the dental perspective?
Yes, I would. Sounds like you've done your homework here, Enrique. So, yeah. In fact, it's interesting, in our first year class, we've got several students that just started this past year. They've got a master's in public health and then have come on and been accepted as a dental student. So, but here at our school, we have a dual degree program. It's going on, it's very successful, where you can earn your DDS degree and a master's in public health at the same time during those 4 years. And you don't have to ride a scooter over to the School of Public Health every day to kind of, make that happen. Dr. Anna Newman, who is one of our faculty members here, she is a master's in public health. She set up this program 3 years ago, and it's very well run. Many of the courses are online. Sometimes there are times to go to the School of Public Health, but we have, I think we have about 15 students in that right now that are doing it. Is it a little extra work? Yeah, you bet it is. But it's been very successful, and it's been very popular, and a lot of our students graduate in the 4-year time and get that dual degree. Instead of traditionally getting the Master's of Public Health, then the DDS, or the DDS and then spending another year to 2 years getting a Master's in Public Health. And you're right, I think with this pandemic that's going on, that's even brought to the forefront this Master's in Public Health, there may be some real benefit to that. Because I get that question a lot, why should I even do that? And there's an advantage of that if you're looking at getting a job government-wise, or working with city governments, or something where if you have an MPH, you're the person and you have the big advantage and you are the qualified person. But we're excited about this program. It's been very, very successful at our school.
Completing it in 4 years is quite an accomplishment, because we have had some feedback about the curriculum for dental school and how rigorous it really is, especially with the change in the board exams and how a lot of curricula changed. And so hearing that an MPH can still be achieved within that 4-year time span is really quite the feat.
Yeah, and it's not, it's not for everyone there, but and the nice thing is students will come, they're accepted, they'll say, I want to find out about it, and then they can apply. But we sometimes have students that go through the first semester, the first year, and then say, hey, I think I may want to do that, and they still can do it. So as long as they make that decision somewhere down the road, they can get it and get that done. But yeah, and you're right about the curriculum being rigorous. It's rigorous.
Yeah. Could we talk about the journey from undergraduate to dental school? I do know that unlike medical school preparation that a lot of students that we work with deal with, for dental school, it's actually recommended, if not outright advised, that students have upper division coursework in the sciences leading up to the point of matriculation to dental school. Would you mind kind of discussing what the prerequisites look like and why they're in place, and maybe any recommendations for preparing yourself academically for dental school?
Yeah, so the prereqs are there, and of course they're the same for all the schools. And you can go to any, you can look at TMDSAS. Of course, you can go to any of our websites and you see them right there. Biology, biochemistry, chemistry, everybody's favorite, organic chemistry, all those. And it's kind of thing where we tell everyone that we encourage people to take upper level science courses for those biology courses. Anatomy and physiology obviously is a classic, but something like histology, microbiology, the more you take of those, the more prepared you are for here at school. and the way we teach here at the dental school, when you come to dental school, you've taken those courses in the past. You're not going to come here that first year and sign up and go, okay, I'm taking microbiology. And, oh, hey, I'm taking histology. The way we teach it, and we set this curriculum in place about 12 years ago, and a lot of schools have followed since, and it makes sense. When you come in, you're going to be taught a biomedical science core. And so you may be studying the circulatory system, for example. We teach you by systems. And then when you're studying the circulatory system, all the biology, all the chemistry or the organic chemistry, the microbiology, the histology, everything is combined on that with it. And the reason we do that is, I know when I was in dental school, we would take these courses like histology and you'd think, wow, this is interesting, but am I ever going to use this as a dentist? And why am I studying this? And am I in dental school, or, where am I? Am I in grad school, PhD for, histology? So we revised the curriculum about 12 years ago. And so you get a biomedical science core, but we also have a class that first year called clinical applications. We break the class in, you're in a group of about 8 students. Each week, you're assigned a series of questions or problems that relate to a patient or to a situation. So everything that you learn is applied in a course to how you're going to use it as a dentist. And you have a faculty member that's head of that group too, and it's a group learning experience, because everybody will take, hey, I'll take this part, you take that part, and we combine and get together and put together a presentation. Because the purpose is not to really just make you, brilliant and learning the Krebs cycle or anything else. The thing is to make you the best doctor you can. So everything that you learn, including that very first week dental school with all the biomedical science information, you're going to learn how you're going to apply that to helping a patient when you're out, or even during your time here as a student, but especially when you're out, to be the best doctor that you can be. So I over-answered that question, I know, but
No.
I will tell you, if I could answer it a little bit too, we really encourage people to push themselves, take these upper level science courses, make yourself the best you can be until if you're accepted, that summer before you start, or a few months before you start, 2 months before you start, don't be doing that. Don't be memorizing textbooks. That's the time to go to the beach, go to the park, travel, be with your family, kind of do a respite before you hit it here, because you're right, the curriculum is challenging and we want you nice and fresh when you start here. So, okay.
Thank you, Dr. Cooley.
Yeah.
I want to punt a question to Dr. Beck, using her expertise as an advisor, for applicants who may be reapplying to dental school, who thought that they were ready to go and followed that plan and now have to prepare to apply in the following year. What can they do to prepare, especially hearing academically that they should be still involved in coursework?
Right. If they're applying their junior year, or had planned to apply their junior year, they will go ahead and take the courses necessary for graduation, or as Dr. Cooley recommended, to take those advanced biology and science classes. But if you mean a gap year beyond your graduation date, then you can still stay in some classwork. Some of the community colleges have some good sociology and psychology courses that may be helpful. And I have actually recommended that people may want to take a sculpture course or a jewelry making course, something to improve your manual dexterity in that time if you haven't done anything like that before. But keep your mind sharp and your social skills sharp also. Go ahead and continue your volunteer work and your shadowing. And you may even be able to get your RDA license and work in a dental office and learn to do x-rays and things like that. And so that's beneficial. There are all kinds of things that pre-dental students can do.
Plenty of opportunities.
Hmm.
Yeah, thank you.
Dr. Cooley, would you like to add to that? Would you like to add to anything about a gap year?
I was going to, from what you were saying, I was going to say amen, because that's sometimes we forget to tell people that things that you can do with hand skills are great, because that's the one thing we really can't measure. We have a lot of tests to measure how intelligent people are, and we can kind of tell how well they communicate and how much they care about others. But hand skills are the one thing that's the mysterious factor. So anything you can do to improve that, I think is great, and I agree with that. And also in that gap year, you hit the nail right on the head, is people forget, well, okay, I'll take these classes and I'll show you that I can do well academically, and they forget to do some of these community service things, some of these leadership things that made them strong, and then they just kind of forget about it. You can't forget about that, because that is huge for us. Leadership is huge for us, and we always say we want people that have passion, but we want people, more importantly, to have compassion for others. And so you can't forget those things in a gap year. So yeah, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, something I think we haven't mentioned in any of the past dental sessions is TMOM, the Texas Mission of Mercy. And that may have been suspended this summer because of COVID, but those are always valuable. They're short experiences, but I've seen people get really inspired by volunteering with TMOM.
Yeah,
and Oklahoma Mom as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always get humbled. I know a lot of the people at TDA that are involved with that, the Smiles Foundation, and I've worked some DMOMs, but I can tell you, whoever, even if you're an experienced dentist or if you're a student that's applying to dental school, you can't help but be inspired when you go there and you see that these are dentists and hygienists and assistants and students volunteering their time when they could be somewhere else doing something else, volunteering their time and their own money really to get there, to be able to take care of people that otherwise wouldn't get the care. So yeah, it's inspiring, and it's good for students to do that. Not only looks good on their, curriculum vitae, but they many times will pick up a mentor there. They'll make relationships and connection with them. I hear that all the time. I met Dr. Johnson from San Antonio at that TMOM, and she's a mentor of mine now. So it's huge. Yeah.
All right, we do have some questions that have come in on our feed here. So if you do have any questions for Dr. Cooley about the UT Health Science Center Houston School of Dentistry, please do post them on here, and we will address them. So first question that we've got here is, are there any options for touring the facility or the school right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. Unfortunately, we had summer tours planned where people can come in, get a little presentation, get a tour of the school. We had to cancel those, obviously. So, and that's going to stay true, obviously through the summer and probably through some of the fall. I will say that we are working on a virtual tour that we're going to be putting together probably in 2 or 3 weeks that we're going to have. And so we're going to have more than one of those virtual tours, and I hope that we have a chance to post those where people can go to our website and actually do that. I would tell that person, don't give up, because I'm hoping that we always bring our pre-dental groups from the different schools, and I'm really hopeful that's going to still happen in the spring. That's when we have most of the tours here. I'm hoping that still happens. And if you're in a school that is really small, that you can contact us, because you can join in with some of these groups. I combine groups sometimes, or if you're a non-traditional student, you can still contact us and we can make that happen, but it probably won't happen till 2021, the way it looks. Yeah.
Okay, we have another question that came up. Does the school use emerging dental technology in the current curriculum, such as CAD or CAM?
No, we're trying to still stay in the 1940s as much as we can because it save money that way. No, that's a great question. I'm trying to, sorry to be smart aleck on that. No, it's a great question. We have been, digital dentistry has been the explosion, the last few years. We've been doing digital dentistry for a while in our clinics, but last year and a half ago, we made a $2.5 million commitment to really up our game. What I mean by that is we went out and bought I think 100 more scanners. We have our own milling area for milling machines, CAD CAM. So what we've done is, it used to be you got digital dentistry experience when you started treating patients, and especially you got that experience that third and fourth year. You got to scan, do digital, and do some things. Now what we did is we made a commitment that very first year you're using digital dentistry equipment right off the bat that freshman year. Our first year class this past year was the first one to actually cut a prep on a mannequin, scan it, design the crown using the software digitally, go to the milling area, make their own crown and do that, actually do the lab part as well. So we just thought it was important with the digital explosion that we just jumped in both feet so that you get exposed to that from the very get-go, so that when you start treating patients, it's not like, hey, I've got to learn this digital thing. You've already got the digital thing down. It's more than just even doing treatment on patients, though, is the digital software they have is great, because when students are starting to do hand skills, doing preparations at first and second year, we still do this, but traditionally, like, I would go in there and I'd look at it and say, well, you did pretty good. You need to change this. You've made 3 mistakes here. You did this really great. Looked at it subjectively. We still do that, but now with the digital software we have, students can go in and do these hand skill, do these preparations in our simulation clinic. They can scan it and the software will tell them immediately, show them all the areas where they're deficient. You kind of give them a grade, like 65, and then shows them exactly what to do. And then they can go in and change it, rescan it. Essentially, it's like a game. It's like they can go in and evaluate themselves. And it's just like any game, it's almost addicting. Because I can tell you that when we went through calibration as faculty members, I was doing that, playing with it, and it was fascinating to me. And they'd say, hey, you need to take a break. And I'd say, no, I'm good. And finally, they just came and pulled the plug on my machine because I wouldn't leave. So, but it's so great because students, they have a good time. They can do that and do it in groups, and they can evaluate it. Doesn't mean the faculty have gone on vacation. We're still there and we still look at things and give input. But it's just a lot nice to get that self-feedback and be able to do it with the digital software. So yeah, we jumped in with both feet and we're excited about it. So.
Dr. Cooley, you have alluded to the fact that it's quite expensive to use that equipment. How does a new dentist, they're already looking at paying back their dental school bills. How do they get started in a business of their own buying that kind of equipment?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, if they're in a group practice, that's going to absorb it. But let's say you go in with another dentist, there's just 2 of you. I was in private practice just by myself and an associate for all those years. So I think a new dentist that would go in doing that, let's say I have the experience, you start like anything, you start slowly. What does that mean? You probably buy a scanner, a digital scanner, and you can do that fairly inexpensively. And maybe you're scanning and doing things digitally, but you're sending those scans off to the lab. Maybe you're not milling your own crowns right there for a while. You're using the lab and scanning that, sending that, and you're getting back information. Then as you get more experience, or as the situation cash flow is better, then maybe you have your own milling machine in there. You can kind of start I think everybody can start with a scanner. I think that's pretty basic equipment, and work with the lab and then work on up. And then maybe you get multiple scanners, and then maybe you have a couple milling machines, and you just kind of slowly move up the chain. Yeah. But I can tell you that, I probably shouldn't say this, but I will, the dental supply companies want to sell that stuff pretty badly. They will make you an incredible offer, you know, that you can't refuse to. It's like, oh, you can pay this off, just like buying a new house or anything else. You can pay this off in, you know, 10 years and you'll be glad you did. But my advice would be to start slow, start basic, and then work your way up. So, yeah.
I think we're touching on a really interesting subject here with like the economy of managing a dental practice. As future dentists, what can they be doing to prepare to get into that mindset?
Well, I think one of the things is, let me start from the very basic core. One of the things is, and Dr. Beck mentioned that, student debt. One of the things we're really committed to, and I think I could say that with all the schools in Texas, we take it real seriously, student debt. Now, we're fortunate. I talked about how great the 4 schools in Texas are. One of the things too with it is these schools are in the top 10 in the lowest tuition of dental schools in the country. So it's still, I wish it were 0. It's not 0. It's still it's still high, but we're in the top 10 lowest. So that's a good thing right there, because we get money from the state of Texas that allows us to keep tuition a little lower. That's one thing. But we have classes from the very first, that first year. We have classes that work with the students. We have a group called our professional resource group. It's dentists. We have a group of dentists in the Houston area that we work with, but they develop a relationship with the student, kind of like a guidance counselor, and figure out, okay, what is your situation, and try to minimize student debt as much as they can, because the lower the student debt coming out, the more opportunities that you have in terms of practice opportunities and going in, you know, if you want to go into a small group practice, or you want to, you know, try to buy a practice, or, you know, corporate dentistry is always out there. There's a lot of options, but from the very get-go, Enrique, I would say the very get-go is minimizing student debt. We're serious about that. And if anybody's been through interview days at our school, they know that when I talk about this, I give a financial presentation, I get very emotional in it, because it's a very serious matter to me. We're fighting on the national level at Austin and also Washington, D.C. to kind of change rules to minimize student debt. But in a practical way here, we have a group that works with you all 4 years to help with you deciding what you're going to do career-wise, where you're going to go, and then also to help manage finances. So.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
We have a couple of new questions that came in, and I think we want to get into specifics about how COVID-19 may have affected the interview process and the application process. But before we get to those, we do have a couple of questions that came into our Q&A here. The first of which is, can CE or continuing education courses be helpful in the application?
Well, I think yes, in a way. I mean, one of the things that's very important is knowledge of the profession. That traditionally is either shadowing in an office or working in a dental office for knowledge of the profession. That's first and foremost. If you go to continuing education courses in dentistry, the more you learn about what you're getting into in this profession, the better. So I think, yes, I think you could put that on the application. I think that's important. Does it take the place of shadowing or working in an office? No, it's not as strong, obviously. Just, you know, sitting in class and getting information or getting it online. But I think it's the more you can learn, the better you can be.
So on the topic of what could or couldn't be a good substitute for actual hands-on learning or direct observation of a dentist, with so many activities being canceled or postponed due to COVID-19, Do you have any recommendations on what students can do to stay active in their exploration of the dental profession, or any guidance that you can provide?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I'm gonna give that to Dr. Beck because that's too hard of a question for me. So no, that's a hard question, and I don't mean to make light of it, because I know that there are students that are concerned about that, because I get emails a lot during the week. And I will say this, I'll just be candid. You know, I got the question, well, can I just watch YouTube videos and count that as shadowing? And my answer is no on that. YouTube videos, if you want to look at those for what's going on in a dental office, I think that's fine. I use YouTube. I used it last week to help me repair my bicycle. I mean, we all use it on a daily basis, but it doesn't take the place of being in an office. It doesn't take the place of that. It will help you get more knowledge, but it doesn't count as shadowing hours. I will say that two things I'd say. Number one is, I think all the schools are aware that shadowing opportunities have really been diminished because of this whole COVID-19 situation. And we understand that. And I think all admission committees are going to take that into account when they look at how much shadowing have you done. Our school does not have a set number of hours. You know, there's not like this bar, hey, you have to have 100 hours. You got to have 107 hours. We've never had a bar on that. So it depends. It's different for every individual, depending on their situation and what they're doing in their life. But I will say we're going to take into account this year that we know that those hours for many people will probably be lower than normal. We understand that. For those of you students that have not, you know, that are worried about this, I would just say, be persistent, be nice, but be persistent, because I think once this new normal keeps going on after a few months, there are going to be more opportunities. I realize right now there are hardly any, because dentists are trying to find their way through it. I'm talking to dentists in private practice every night on conference calls about this, and it's a struggle. But just be patient, because I think there are going to be opportunities that you're going to have even before the end of the year. But we're going to understand that. We're going to understand that.
Yeah, and actually next week, Dr. Beck and I will be doing kind of a special courage session to address some of the questions for students who may be doing, you know, learning videos on YouTube. How do you enter then the application? And then some other questions that we'll be getting from applicants. So definitely bring those back to us on Wednesday when we'll discuss those.
Okay.
All right. Well, we've hit some pretty deep topics, but while we're on the subject of COVID-19, can you tell us about how the review, admissions process, and maybe even the interview process may have been affected at your school?
Yeah. So one thing is everyone knows that the reviewing, we're getting the applications from TMDSS a little later. And so we're starting to review those right now. I will tell you that we start normally interviewing like the first week in August. That's going to start just like the other schools. We've all agreed we're going to start that first week in September. And we interview, traditionally, our school interviews a little later. We always interview through February or through January. That's going to be true this year. We may even interview through February. So it's going to be pushed back a little bit. I know that the question, I don't know if you want me to go there, about reviewing with DAT scores, and because I get that question a lot. So everybody's worried, you know, I can't take the DAT until September. Should I wait and give hold off my application? And as you know, and I think most of the people probably know, the answer is no, don't wait. Send that application in when it's complete. When you like it, you're good with your essays. Don't wait on those DAT scores. Make sure it's complete, but send it in as early as you can. Early application is still the best way to go. And know that we're going to look at that. We're going to keep reviewing those. We'll probably wait till we get a DAT score to extend an interview, but you're in our radar at that point. So, but don't wait those DAT scores at all. Yeah, Dr. Beck may want to comment about that too. I don't know.
No, I agree entirely. Go ahead and get your application in so that the TMDSAS folks can start processing all of the paper, or it's not paperwork anymore, all of your information that you've put on the application, because that takes time. And go ahead and submit. You don't have to have your DAT scores to submit.
Yeah, and Enrique, I don't know if you're going to mention this, that, you know, TMDSAS, you know, the deadline's always been October 1st. Now it's November 1st for us. So it's been pushed back a month. And I know that, again, we're going to be interviewing more students later. I know we're going to be accepting more students later because of this. Everything's going to have a little delay with it as well. Even though it's November 1st, don't wait.
Real quick, the deadline is October 30th.
30th, yes. So that's why, yeah, don't wait till October 30th to do that. So I had, every year I get people, it used to be, you know, it used to be the last of September was the deadline. And I got people on October 1st that would submit it and say, won't you take it? And, you know, please. And, and yeah, and I'd have to say, gee, I'm sorry, but, you know, we just can't. That's kind of a hard and fast rule. So don't wait till the last minute, please. Yeah, and you've given that information about all the numbers. Earlier is better, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Actually, I believe for dentistry,
yeah,
the schools of dentistry tend to, as you mentioned, have a shorter interview timeline. And so you definitely want to allow as much time as possible for the schools to review your application. Right. So, and you don't have to wait on DAT scores, but you also don't have to wait on your letters of evaluation in order to submit. Those can come in later. And don't forget that this application cycle, your transcripts will not be submitted until TMDSAS requests them, and that will probably not happen until the fall. Yeah. So if you are collecting your transcripts right now, hold on to them. Don't open the envelope because they do have to be sealed. And when TMDSAS requests them, submit them in at that time. But yeah, don't let any of those documents keep you from submitting your application.
Yeah, amen.
Yeah.
Dr. Cooley, would you like to address the letters of evaluation and how the admissions committee looks at those letters?
Sure. A couple things. Enrique is right. I mean, we'll be looking at those applications even if we don't have all the letters of recommendation in, so don't wait for those. We do look at those. Our school requires that you have a dentist as one of the letters of application, and then either 2 professors or the packet that you might have from your school. So the question I get, and I know it's been discussed before, why are you having a dentist in there doing it? The reason we've done that is so many times that dentist is somebody that you've been in their office or you've learned a lot of information from them. They've served, he or she has served as kind of a mentor to you. And I tell students all the time, well, hey, I'll get this question. I don't know, I've been in a couple offices, but I don't know a dentist that well where I would ask them. And that's when you need to step up to the plate and say, hey, Dr. Jones, could I make an appointment time to sit down with you and tell you a little bit, I want to go into this profession. I'd like to get your take, your advice, and I give you some information about me with my resume. And if you would, I'd like to consider you a mentor. But you've got to make an appointment. One of the things, that's one thing, you have to make an appointment to get to know them, or so they get to know you. And the letters of recommendation, if you get professors, make sure it's somebody that knows you, just not somebody that knows you made an A in their class. The worst letters of recommendation are be like, well, Bill Johnson was in my class. He did very well. He got the 2nd highest score. I think he would make a great dentist. That is a horrible letter of recommendation because we don't really care. We know what grade you made. We want to know, you know, what kind of person are you ethically? Do you work well with others? Were you kind of a pain in the class, or were you kind of that person that worked well, were a hard worker? we want to know the characteristics and your quality. We don't really care that, I mean, hats off if you made the second highest grade in the class, but we know that. We want to know ethically. And so somebody gave me a little jazz a couple of years ago because he came up and said, hey, I think I'm going to get a letter of recommendation from George Bush. Is that going to really be impressive to you? And I said, no, it's probably not. And he said, why don't you don't like Republicans? And I said, no, that has nothing to do with it. Is that if George Bush, if you just got that, but he doesn't really know who you are, that's not as good of a letter as a recommendation as that professor that really knows you, you worked in their lab, or they got to know you and they knew ethically what kind of person you are. So it doesn't matter who the letter of recommendation is. It doesn't have to be from the governor or the president of the university. It's got to be somebody in that organization that knows your heart. So, yeah.
Now, if they had served as vice president with President Bush, that would be okay.
So if President Bush knew them really well, that would be great. That
Okay.
would be great. Yeah. But it's not really a contest. You know, you don't have to go in and get a celebrity to write your letter of recommendation.
Right.
It's got to be somebody that can speak about honestly who you are. So, yeah. I'm not really impressed by the name of the person. I like George Bush, don't get me wrong, but I'm not really impressed by the name of the person. So,
Okay, thanks.
yeah.
All right. We have another question that came into our live Q&A here. Since the dental schools are sending out interview invitations starting in September, could we expect online interviews? And if so, what are some tips for interviewing online?
Well, a good tip on interviewing online is make sure you have good Wi-Fi, right? Because if you're talking and then all of a sudden you do that, it's not going to look as good, right? So, no, I'm kind of joking about it, but I'm kind of not joking about it because I've had a couple, we've had a couple online interviews with some special programs earlier, and bad Wi-Fi. I can't hold it against the candidate, but it was hard to communicate. So if you do an online interview, make sure you got a good bandwidth on there to make it work. In regards to are the interviews going to be online or not, I can't 100% tell you that. I will tell you that all the schools, all 4 dental schools are talking about that. There is a very good chance that could happen. I can't definitively, I don't know what Dr. Malone and Dr. Miller said last week, but last time we talked, it's not 100% definitive it's going to go that way. Is there a good chance? Yeah, there's a good chance, but it's not 100%. I will tell you this, that whatever decision's made, all 4 schools are going to do the same thing. And we're not going to have it where we start off with one group is doing it one way and then another group later in the year is doing it another way. So whatever we start with, we're gonna stay with. If it is an online interview, my advice would be the same as I would be in person, and that is that many things. Prepare ahead of time. Do mock interviews. You may think, gee, I'm such a good communicator and I think well on my feet, I don't have to do that. You have to do mock interviews and record yourself. Have somebody record you, and you can look at it and see during that interview, what were you playing with your hair the whole time, or scratching your ear? It's like, oh, I can't believe I did that. Or were you saying about 48 times? Mock interviews are huge to prepare yourself. Do homework ahead of time on that particular school that you're interviewing with. So I will tell you, if you're interviewing at our school, you want to go to our website and see what do we do, what kind of things do we do community service wise, so that you will have some things. We don't expect you, we're not going to give you a test on how well you know our website, but it gives you a chance to speak intelligently, because the question at every school is going to be, why do you think you'd be a good fit at this school? Well, if you've done your homework, you can answer, I like this about your school, and you can answer that honestly and in a transparent way. And it doesn't mean that, hopefully no one's going to ask you, are we the best school? Yes or no? And, because that's an unfair question, but you have to be able to talk intelligently about the school. And the other thing I would say is know who you are, and just be yourself. Don't try to put on a big act. I know it's easier to do it virtually. You can kind of be the actor or actress, but just, even virtually, sincerity always rings true. And so just do that. And I guess the thing, and I'm not doing it very well, is know where your camera is on these virtual interviews. I know I'm looking over here, right? Hey, like I bring the script. But know where the camera is, and so you can actually, just like you would in person, you're making eye contact. You're not staring them down, but you're making eye contact. You're not talking like this the whole time during the interview. So just to have an idea of where the camera is, so you can do well. And just be yourself, and and tell why you want to go into dentistry, and be enthusiastic about it too.
Would you suggest that they go ahead and wear their interview suit?
That's a good question. I guess at least from the top up, right? I mean, nobody's checking anything else. So yes, I would. I would. That's a good point. I hadn't even thought about that till now. So I would still dress appropriately. I wouldn't dress like you just came from the gym, or you just, did a body pump class or something, or yoga. I would dress in the same way that if you were going to be in person. Now, I can't tell what color shoes you're wearing. I can't tell the size of the heel or anything like that. And I frankly don't even care. But I think if you do that, it'll put you in the right mindset to do these interviews. And yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that, but I would. That would be my recommendation. Yeah.
And I might add, you mentioned about the having good bandwidth, and some people don't.
Yeah.
So I think that many of the universities will be opening or having at least partial opening of their campuses. You may be able to get a room in the library, a study nook, or a room that, of course, the library should have good Wi-Fi. And the public libraries should be opening by fall also. And it's, of course, you can't interview at Starbucks or something like that, but you can get those little interview rooms, I think, at the libraries.
Yeah, if you interview at Starbucks, put a background on like I have behind me right now, or something like that, so we don't know where you are, right?
Right.
I am in my office, by the way, just officially. The other thing too, that's a good point, Dr. Beck, that students could always check with their health profession advisors with their school. Hey, I've got an interview. Is there a room set up that would be good for this, conducive if they need some help? So yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a good suggestion for advisors, I think.
Yeah.
And I bet several advisors are already working on
probably so.
They are. Yeah.
Well, we are down to just over 5 minutes, but I really do want to ask you this one question.
Okay.
Since we do have you as one of the member institutions in the Texas Medical Center, there are so many other institutions of health professions just within a stone's throw distance from where you are. You have the VA just down the road. You have, just pretty much any institution is going to have some sort of presence there. So could you tell us a little bit about the interdisciplinary training that happens because of that on your campus?
Okay. So I said before, we talked about the 6 schools that we have a little, it's interprofessional education. That's true. We have the medical students will come over here. We will send our students over to the medical school for certain projects. Gross anatomy is one of them. We'll send them over there just so they can see how they do it as compared to what we do. We have a great relationship, besides that dual degree with the School of Public Health. We have a great relationship with that school. We have a program where students, when they're taking a certain nutrition course that second year, They actually will go over to the School of Public Health that has this huge gourmet kitchen and a chef out there. We'll send them in small groups of about 20, and they get a chance to actually prepare a lot of these items that they would be recommending for patients to be eating. They get to spend sessions actually in the kitchen, learning how to do this so they can better educate their patients here as far as nutrition goes. Students love that. They want to, can we go back every week? No, we can't, we can't do it that much. But we have different programs like that, as well as we will send them, they'll have students will come over here. We'll work with the schools and doing some research projects. So there's all kinds of interprofessional education going on. Frankly, we would like to increase that a little bit. So we're looking at ways to do that this coming year. But yeah, we have some projects with the different schools, and it's the VA. I would just say that we have a program called Give Vets a Smile, where our students take care of a lot of veterans' needs. And you would think, well, there's a VA right there with a dental clinic and residents. One of my trained, she's over there right now. But they have so much red tape and they're so swamped, they can't see a lot of these veterans. We have a program where we have a lot of veterans and our students get to take care of them and then get them back to the VA. So yeah, there's a lot of interconnection between the different groups here in Houston. Yeah.
Great, thank you for that info.
Yeah.
We are kind of winding down now. We have less than 5 minutes left in our scheduled time. But I wanted to kind of emphasize that the point of these courage sessions are to encourage our applicants and future applicants who are kind of seeing the COVID semester and kind of wondering what that's going to mean for them down the line. Do you have any words of encouragement or words of wisdom to share with them?
Yeah, I would say stay positive. I mean, our school has done a great job through this with virtual clinics, and I've been really impressed with creativity of our faculty to put these on. But I was just in the clinic teaching yesterday, and I was talking with a student. Students have been through different stages. There have been times where they've been nervous, they've been weary, they've been frustrated, and some, those three things. And we talked about being professional and sometimes acting not the way you feel on that. But it's okay to talk. Let's talk about it. It's okay to let's talk about it, but let's don't throw anything to each other. Our students have been great about this and had a good attitude. And I will tell you, this is going to get better. The way it looks for the fall is that didactic courses here will be online. So much of the stuff that we do, though, hands-on, students will be here in the building doing their hands-on program. We are going to be seeing patients. Our students are going to be seeing patients in the fall. Right now, they are not. They're doing strictly simulation exercises on mannequins in the clinic. But in the fall, they will resume patient care. And so that will start off, and we will do it'll be the new normal. We'll do some different guidelines and different PPE, patient protection equipment. But it's going to get better and better and better. But we've made some great progress, and the fall will be there, and it's going to be a good year. So I would tell them, don't be nervous. We've had some town hall meetings with our incoming class already, and just said, stay positive. It's going to be a good year. You're going to graduate. You're going to make it, and it's going to only get better and better from here on out. And you'll have a story to tell the rest of your life. You can tell your grandchildren about, hey, I was the first class that came in with COVID. So.
And I think that resilience and that adaptability is really something that's going to be key for a lot of folks this year.
Amen. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, Dr. Cooley, thank you so much for taking the time to share some great insights with us. We really appreciate it. We know that right now you are starting to get a lot of applications coming in and starting with some preparations for the fall and continuing with all of your other duties. So we appreciate you taking the time to join us. For the session. Yeah,
and thank you for putting this together. I think this is really beneficial for students, this informational series, and I think it's great. And I would just tell you too, I know I don't get a break on saying this, but TMDSAS is so great to us. So I'm thankful for that. It makes the process very, very smooth, and every day we're thankful for it. So thanks for having me. It was a good time.
It was a pleasure. Thank you. And
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us as well.
Okay.
All right. And on behalf of TMDSAS and the Health Education Service, we'd like to wish all of our applicants all the best of luck. And if you have any questions, of course, you know how to reach us. And we are also taking your questions on the online communities, the TMDSAS Hub and TMDSAS non-traditional applicants groups. So we'll see y'all next week.